3 days earlier, my wife Madeline had texted me while I was sitting at my desk. Girls' trip. Don't wait up. I stared at the message longer than necessary. Something about it felt different. She had been distant for months, constantly checking her phone and becoming defensive whenever I asked simple questions. I didn't argue. I replied, "Have fun." She sent a heart emoji and disappeared. What she didn't know was that I had already discovered the truth. The trip wasn't really a girls' trip. Madeline was meeting another man, and I had finally decided I was done pretending not to know. For weeks, I'd noticed small changes. She suddenly cared about her appearance before every girls' night. She started guarding her phone and changing passwords. She began coming home later and offering vague explanations. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. Then I found a hotel reservation confirmation accidentally synced to our shared tablet. The reservation was for 2 people. The name wasn't mine. I didn't confront her. Instead, I contacted a divorce attorney and explained everything. He advised me not to invade her privacy or do anything reckless. He told me to document what I already knew and let the legal process begin quietly. The morning Madeline left, she kissed my cheek and told me not to worry. "I need this break," she said. "The girls have planned everything." I smiled and helped her carry her suitcase to the car. She looked surprised by how calm I was. "You're not going to be jealous?" she asked jokingly. I shook my head. "Why would I be?" She laughed and drove away. I watched her disappear down the street. Then I went inside and called my attorney. The paperwork was ready. I signed everything necessary and waited. The next 3 days passed quietly. I went to work, exercised, and stayed with a friend rather than sleeping in our house alone. I didn't call Madeline. I didn't ask for pictures. I didn't check her social media. I didn't need to. She had made her choice, and I had made mine. My attorney arranged for the divorce papers to be served legally. I wanted the process handled professionally, without threats or humiliation. I wasn't trying to punish her. I simply wanted to end a marriage in which trust had already disappeared. On the 3rd afternoon, my phone rang. It was Madeline. Her voice sounded frightened. "Something weird just happened." I asked what. She said, "A strange man just came to see me. He asked for me by name and handed me some papers. Do you know him?" I was silent for a moment. Then I replied, "Yes." She sounded relieved. "Who is he?" I answered calmly, "He's my divorce lawyer." The line went completely silent. I could almost hear the moment she understood. "What?" she whispered. I repeated myself. "He's my divorce lawyer." She immediately started talking. She said she thought we were fine. She said the trip was supposed to be harmless. She said she hadn't expected me to do something so extreme. I asked what she meant by harmless. She didn't answer. I told her that the papers weren't sudden. They were the result of months of broken trust, lies, and decisions she'd made long before she left for the trip. She began crying. "Please don't do this while I'm away." I told her the timing wasn't the point. She had chosen to leave while knowing our marriage was already in trouble. I asked whether she'd been honest about the trip. She admitted she hadn't. Then she asked whether I knew who she was with. I said I did. She became silent again. Finally she asked, "How long have you known?" I told her I'd known enough for several weeks. She couldn't believe I'd remained calm while she planned the trip. She said she could explain everything when she came home. I told her she could explain whatever she wanted, but the divorce process would continue. She asked whether there was someone else. I said no. She sounded confused. "Then why are you doing this?" I replied, "Because I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering whether my wife is telling me the truth." She said she loved me. I told her that love without honesty wasn't enough for me anymore. The next day, Madeline returned early. She walked through the front door carrying the same suitcase she'd taken on the trip. Her confidence was gone. She looked exhausted. "I never thought you'd actually leave me," she said. I told her that was exactly the problem. She had become so certain I'd always forgive her that she stopped considering the possibility of consequences. She sat down and admitted that she'd been seeing another man for several months. The trip had been intended to give them time together away from everyone who knew us. I asked her why she'd stayed married if she wanted someone else. She said she was afraid of starting over. She wanted the excitement of the other relationship without losing the security of our marriage. I told her that wasn't love. It was wanting two different lives at the same time. She cried and admitted that she had been selfish. Then she asked whether there was any way to stop the divorce. I told her the decision had already been made. Over the following weeks, Madeline repeatedly asked me to reconsider. She promised to end the affair and attend counseling. I told her I appreciated the promises, but they came too late. She asked whether I hated her. I said no. I didn't hate her. I simply no longer trusted her enough to remain married to her. She had spent months creating a life outside our marriage while expecting me to keep the marriage intact. I couldn't do that anymore. The divorce was finalized several months later. Madeline moved into her own apartment and eventually ended the relationship with the other man. I heard through mutual friends that she regretted everything. I never celebrated her regret. There was nothing satisfying about watching someone suffer because of choices they couldn't undo. I simply continued rebuilding my life. I changed my routine, traveled more, and reconnected with friends I'd neglected during the marriage. One evening, months after the divorce, Madeline sent me a message. "I finally understand why you did it." I asked what she meant. She replied, "You weren't trying to hurt me. You were finally protecting yourself." I stared at the message for a long time before responding, "Yes." That was all I wrote. There was no anger left between us. Only distance. Looking back, the strangest part of the entire situation was how confidently Madeline had sent me that first message. "Girls trip, don't wait up." She thought she was leaving for 3 days while keeping her real life hidden from me. She didn't realize that while she was packing her suitcase, I was quietly making a decision that would change both our lives. 3 days later, when she called in panic about a strange man carrying divorce papers, I gave her the only answer she never expected. "Yes. I know him. He's my divorce lawyer." And for the first time, she understood that I hadn't been waiting for her to come home. I had already decided to move on.